Good morning. How many retirement lies do we tell ourselves? We tell ourselves a lot of lies, right? Right from being successful, not being successful, being in a depression, not being in a depression. So let us separate some of those lies and say look at what are the retirement lies that we tell ourselves. First is the biggest lie that we tell ourselves that I have an employer provident fund and that is enough, which means I contribute to the provident fund, my employer contributes to the provident fund, that will be a nice princely sum, and that is enough for my retirement. Well, after indexing, or rather after taking the inflation into account, the chances are the 6%, 7% return that you get in PF, and when I'm saying 6, 7%, I mean going forward when the interest rates fall, it will be too puny to take care of your retirement. Please understand, this was done when the average age at which people were dying was much lesser. For example, the American Social Security was designed that you should withdraw only after the age of 65, which means you retire at 65 and you die at 75. But today, if you retire at 55 and take your PF and expect it to last till you're 100, this is one of the biggest lies. The second biggest lie, of course, is saying, I looked after my parents, so my children will look after me. Again, a lie, because your children may not be able to look after you. What happens if you live till the age of 101 and your son is 76? Do you really expect him to be able to look after you? Son or daughter, doesn't matter. Will they be able to look after you? What happens when you have only one kid and that kid dies before you do? You have no excuse, right? How do you expect a dead kid to look after you? What happens if the kid is very far away and says, I just can't? Either come and live with me in New Zealand or you take care of yourself. And you don't want to go to New Zealand. What happens at that stage? Right? Are you being stubborn or is he being stubborn? We're not getting into those arguments, but yes, it's a lie. Then the other super big lie, which all professionals say, and I'm amused at this. You talk to the policeman about his retirement, and he says, you don't understand the stress in my job. I will not live beyond 60. You talk to the doctor, and he says, but I will work till the end of my life, so I don't need that. You talk to the army man, he says, Subra, you don't know perhaps that we have index pension and we have medical facilities for life. So I don't even see why I should be investing for retirement. Everybody is living in a fool's paradise. The army pension is good, absolutely, no doubt about that, especially at the higher levels. But it doesn't mean at the lower levels the pensions are enough. It is just not enough, right? You need to create your own portfolio. If you don't create your own portfolio, you will not have adequate money for some of the luxury things for sure. Maybe you live a very simple, frugal, and a scared life. I am not against frugal living. I live frugally. That's not a problem. The problem is you're scared every day whether your money will last, and that is a scare which you don't want. You want to be comfortable enough to say, whatever happens, I will have money for myself. Whether this is a medical emergency or any other kind of emergency, I will have adequate money for myself. Right? The other damage that we do to ourselves by saying, I've changed 4 companies, but I've never transferred my provident fund. Please do that, because some companies may not have even paid it to the authorities. So you might be fooling yourself into believing that you have so much of pension available, or rather PF accumulation available. Go and check and make sure that it is updated. They do a good job, but it is your job to make sure that it is updated. Interest is getting credited, that account is active, the nomination is in place, right? All this is part of the management. You may have started out at the age of 22 with your mother as a nominee. You were 45 when your mother died, and now you're 54 and you've still not changed the nominee. This can't work, right? So change your nominee, make your wife the nominee, make your children the nominee, whomever you want, but make somebody the nominee. There are mutual funds now who have pension plans which you could buy, but please realize they are part of your total pension box, you need a pension ka dabba or a retirement ka dabba from which you will draw on a regular basis. So if you have a pension plan, some 10 mutual funds have the scheme, another 5 could be launching. It is important that be a part of your plan rather than the only thing. It can't be the only plan. You have to have other plans also, right? Another big, very sad lie is my current expenses are too high. I have no money to save for retirement. Give me a break. If your current expenses are too high and you can't save at your 45 or 35 or whatever, how will you pull from the age of 60 to the age of 100? And 60 is an assumption. A lot of people will have to be prepared for retiring at 54, 55. That's it. COVID has also pushed a lot of people into retirement. A lot of companies, people who had 2 years to go for retirement have been asked to go, even at CEO and CFO posts, right? So that's tough. I don't understand investing, so I don't invest. This is another stupid argument. If you don't understand investing, you have to learn to invest. That's all. It's like saying, I don't know how to cross the road. You cannot live your life without knowing how to cross the road. Look right, look left, make sure there is no vehicle coming, and then you cross the road. As simple as that. So you don't know investing, no problem. Get your KYC done, invest in an index fund. It does not require a PhD to invest in an index fund. You meet your debt requirements by investing in PPF for 3-4 accounts at home, that is husband, wife and 2 children, and that is about 6 lakhs, and then put 6 lakhs away in an index fund. That's good enough. You don't need to do anything very sophisticated. This one line summary of what you do is enough. You will be 50-50 in debt and equity, and that's good enough, right? Start off, at least make that start. After you make a start and you think you're doing well, put more money into equity after you understand what you're doing. If you don't understand, stick to an index fund and PPF. That's not a bad combination. Another thing is, I am too young to start for retirement. I mean, to start saving for retirement. I mean, you can't be a 30-year-old and say I'm too young. I think there is nothing called too young. Even if you started at the age of 1, because your father started a PPF for you or started some other investment plan for you, it's not too, you're not too young, because that will give you tremendous amount of power when you're 45-50 to be able to tell your boss, I'm not coming from tomorrow, right? The other worry, I'm too old. I'm 45 already. Subra, in your book you say you have to start investing at 22. I'm 45 already. It doesn't matter. Invest. By all means, invest. See what you can do. You will still have 15 years of compounding. So you will be 60 by the time you finish your investments. Try pushing for a job which will allow you to work for another 8-10 years. Most of us will be able to take care of your health, create your friend groups, etc., etc. Do all that. All that doesn't cost much money, right? So once you do all that, put all the other spokes in the wheel, put all other pieces of a jigsaw puzzle in place, so that you have the whole puzzle ready. So the finance part could be difficult, but yes, you retire at 68 instead of retiring at 60. That is equivalent to starting an investment journey at 37 instead of starting at 45. And that's it. And at 45 you could have some other investments, take it and mark it for retirement. So these are all things which you have to do. Stop telling lies to yourself and start investing, at least today, if you have not done till today, right? Thank you.